Welcome to Minimum Effort, Maximum Derp. Today I wanted to do something a little different for the channel. Usually it's a standard Let's Play with live commentary, but today we're doing a Dishonored challenge run. In fact, this might be the most dishonorable run possible. While I was playing it, my usual co-host, Axathoddle, came up with a few names for the challenge. The Psychopath Run, the Fascist Apologist Run, and the Libertarian Run. So what exactly are we trying to do? Well, Dishonored has a chaos system. The more people Corvo kills, the higher the chaos level becomes. Higher chaos means more plague, more rats, more weepers, more guards, and an overall darker world. It also changes which ending you'll get. Fortunately, it's not as simple as one kill automatically gives you the bad ending. There's a threshold. Looking around online, I found repeated claims that if you keep your kills below roughly 20% of the human NPCs in each level, you can still achieve the low chaos ending. The important detail is that only human kills count. Rats, dogs, fish, and river crusts can be slaughtered without affecting chaos. But Dishonored also divides its human NPCs into two internal categories: hostile and civilian. And some of those classifications are questionable. Granny Rags, the plague-spreading cannibal witch, is flagged as a civilian. Meanwhile, Slackjaw, the gang leader who can actually help the player and never attacks Corvo unless provoked, counts as a hostile. That got me thinking. Surely, civilians make up less than 20% of the game's population, right? So here's the challenge. Can you kill every civilian in Dishonored and still earn the low chaos ending? I'll be honest, this run was miserable. It felt wrong in a way that a normal high chaos murder spree never did. Somehow, systematically hunting down innocent people while deliberately sparing guards, assassins, and criminals made this feel way worse. Level 1. Returning home. This is the prologue. Corvo arrives back in Dunwall 2 days early. We ruin this guy's painting by stealing his booze, jump off this wall, and we play hide-and-seek with Emily. As for the challenge, there's not much to do here. For most of the level you can't even draw your weapons, and once you finally can, the only civilian present is the Empress. Killing her immediately fails the mission, so essential NPCs are off the table by default. Instead, we deal with the 3 mandatory hostile attackers, watch the Empress die anyways, and then get framed for her murder that we did absolutely try doing in Emily's kidnapping. So our reward for coming home early is a free trip to prison. Level 2, Dishonored. This is our first real mission, and it opens with Corvo being tortured as the guards try to beat a confession out of him. After a brief interrogation, we're thrown back into our cell where another guard delivers dinner and mentions that this is from a friend. Hidden under the bread is a note, and more importantly, the key to our cell. Right away, you might notice the 3 prisoners in the neighboring cells. They're completely friendly. They don't attack you, they don't rat you out, and they're happy to cheer you on as you escape. Despite that, the game internally classifies them as hostile NPCs. This ends up being a recurring theme. A surprising number of characters that are perfectly friendly towards Corvo are still counted as hostiles by the game's code. I started calling them non-hostile hostiles. The opposite also exists. Characters who behave aggressively but are technically classified as civilians, hostile civilians, but those are much less common. Since this challenge is about killing every civilian, we leave our 3 non-hostile hostiles alive. In fact, this level only contains 1 civilian, and he doesn't appear until the very end. So for now, the objective is simple. Escape prison without being seen and without killing anyone. We sneak past the guards, grab an explosive, blast open our exit, take a leap off the bridge, crawl through the sewers while avoiding rats and patrols, open this safe with the System Shock Easter egg code 451, and finally we meet our rescuer, boatman Samuel Beechworth. Samuel is the only civilian in this mission. Unfortunately for the challenge, he's also an essential NPC. Killing him immediately fails the mission. Honestly, I'm relieved. I'd feel pretty awful murdering Samuel. I mean, he's such a great guy. Let's hope he stays essential for all future missions too. Before leaving, though, there's one more important task. Looting that underwater chest. With that taken care of, we're off to the Hound Pits pub. Level 3. High Overseer Campbell. The Hound Pits pub serves as our hub for most of the game and introduces us to most of our allies. We've already met Samuel, our boatman, who counts as a civilian. Then we have Piero Joplin, civilian, Wallace Higgins, civilian, Cecilia, civilian, Lydia Brooklyn, civilian, Admiral Farley Havelock, hostile, Lord Trevor Pendleton, strangely neither civilian nor hostile. I'll get into that when the time comes. Callista Kurnow, civilian, and finally, the devil himself. I have absolutely no idea how he's classified because you never get the chance to fight him. A few more characters will be introduced later, but the important thing is that most of our allies are coded as civilians. Unfortunately, murdering any of them right now instantly fails the mission, so they're off limits. For now. As a brief tangent, this is also where Corvo receives his supernatural powers. Whenever he uses them, he whispers something under his breath, some unintelligible void language. Except, maybe it's because I've played far too much Daikatana, but every time I use blink, I swear Corvo whispers, Superfly. Just listen to it. Anyway, Havelock sends us to eliminate High Overseer Campbell, rescue Overseer Martin, if possible, and Callista asks us to save her uncle, Geoff Kurnow. More importantly, this is our first mission where we actually get to kill civilians.
Yay!
Samuel drops us off, we knock out the lone guard beneath the bridge, and immediately murder the 3 civilians hanging around nearby. Next stop is Granny Rags. She asks us to deal with her gentleman callers, who are really just 3 thugs trying to rob her. Since they're hostiles, we have to spare them by knocking them out. Granny thanks us and then asks us to poison the elixir supply with the plague. That's terrible for Chaos, so instead we simply kill Granny herself. Again, she's flagged as a civilian despite being an evil cannibal witch trying to spread the plague. She then explodes into a pile of rats. I decided the rats had suffered enough and left them alive. Just around the corner is Griff's Curio Shop. First we knock out the 2 thugs harassing him, then we kill Griff himself. You can postpone this until the next mission if you still want access to his store, but there are plenty of civilians to deal with later, so I preferred getting it over with here and now. The Dunwall Whiskey Distillery contains nothing but hostiles, so we skip it entirely and head for Clavering Boulevard. Inside Galvani's office, we overhear a maid reminding a guard to wash his hands. He responds with, "Is this what it's going to be like when we're married?" So naturally, we murder his fiancée and move on. In Holger Square, we rescue Overseer Martin, who counts as a hostile, meaning we have to keep him alive. The kennels only contain guards and dogs, so there's no reason to visit. High Overseer Campbell himself is also a hostile, so we need the non-lethal solution and acquire the Heretic's brand. Before branding him, though, we face the trickiest civilian kills in the level. 3 tourists, receiving a guided tour through the Overseer's office. The problem is the 5 guards protecting them. 2 are stationed at each of the flanking stairwells, 1 conducts the tour. And all of them have excellent hearing. So the strategy is to isolate and choke out each stair guard, stash them downstairs, distract the tour guide, knock him out too, and hide all 5 bodies in the basement. Only then are the 3 tourists left unattended. Even then, simply stabbing one alerts the others. Oddly enough, the quieter option is to choke each person out, carry them into separate rooms, and finish the job there. If all 3 are left unconscious together, the game may despawn one of them, so they have to be dealt with individually. With that complete, it's time to stop Campbell's poisoning attempt. So we spill these 2 drinks, and by spill I mean shatter the cups. But sadly, that just means Campbell will just murder Geoff. So instead, using bend time, I freeze the scene, choke out Geoff Curnow, and immediately sleep dart Campbell before he notices. You actually have to walk backwards while grabbing Geoff, or Campbell spots you even with time being frozen. Both targets are hostiles, so they must survive. In fact, failing to save Geoff counts as a hostile kill. So we hide him safely in a dumpster while also making sure Campbell's unconscious body won't be discovered even though nobody enters the room. Then we brand Campbell with the Heretic's brand, completing the mission without killing him. On the escape route, we trigger one final event. 2 guards accuse another guard's sister of being a witch. I fire a bolt into a nearby wall to cause a fight to break out. Knock both of the accusing guards out with sleep darts, and the siblings thank me for saving them.
I must get my sister to safety, but first I may know of a way to thank you.
Then, just as the brother walks through the door and despawns, I kill his sister. She's a civilian, and he's a hostile. We regroup with Samuel and leave the district having killed 10 civilians while somehow remaining in low chaos. So far, the challenge is looking surprisingly viable. Level 4, House of Pleasure. We've finally discovered Emily's whereabouts. She's being held at Dunwall's local pleasure establishment, the Golden Cat. Before heading there, though, we stop beneath the Hound Pit's pub to deal with 2 weepers in the sewers. One of them is scripted to jump out from around a corner even though it hasn't actually detected you, so the only consistent way I found to avoid being spotted was to freeze time and sleep dart him. Then it's off to the Golden Cat. Samuel drops us off in the exact same spot as the last mission. Once again, we knock out a guard beneath the bridge, and after taking a right, we encounter our first civilian. This guy looks like a thug, but according to the game's code, he's a civilian. Never judge a book by its cover. Next, we head into the Dunwall Whiskey Distillery, the place we skipped in the previous mission. It's still populated entirely by our non-hostile hostiles, so there are no civilians to kill here. Instead, we meet their leader, Slackjaw, because we need both his alternate route into the Golden Cat and his non-lethal solution for this mission's targets, the Pendleton twins. Slackjaw wants information from Dr. Galvani's office, so we make another trip there. Since we already cleared out the only civilian last mission, there's nothing left to do except grab what we need and leave. The art dealer's apartment across the street also has no civilians.
Please don't tell anyone how I live.
Heading below Clavering Boulevard, we run into a few weepers. But the real surprise is Granny Rags. Despite counting as a civilian kill in the previous mission, she's alive again in a different location. So we kill her again. Climbing the nearby stairs, we find two City Watch guards harassing a woman and trying to steal an elixir meant for her baby. Since she's a civilian, we freeze time, choke her out, carry her to a secluded location, kill her there, and disappear before the guards have any idea what happened. With that out of the way, we use Slackjaw's key to enter the captain's chair hotel, head upstairs, and we find ourselves across the street from the Golden Cat. And this is where the run starts to hurt. The Golden Cat is packed with civilians. Every prostitute in the building counts as a civilian, along with several customers and the establishment's manager. So, the massacre begins. One worker heads upstairs while another heads over to the river for a smoke. We eliminate the smoker first, then the customer reading the price listings outside of the main entrance, followed by the manager after she finishes a short chat with the guard. Upstairs, we take care of the worker we saw outside. Then we head downstairs and quietly dispatch the two women getting ready in front of the mirrors. Those two have to go down simultaneously or the survivor notices immediately. In the main lounge, we quickly eliminate another worker before she can wander upstairs. Then another who's busy arguing with what I assume is her boyfriend, who is passed out drunk in a chair. Conveniently, he counts as a hostile, so he gets to live. The art dealer is blindfolded, so we have no risk of him spotting us. We repeatedly shock him until he reveals the information Slackjaw wants, then kill him anyways. Nearby are two women who I believe are just hugging each other. They also need to be taken out simultaneously, otherwise one suddenly realizes she's hugging either a corpse or, thanks to the shadow kill ability, a pile of ash. Finally, we clear out the pair sleeping together on the couch. The last two civilians are slightly trickier. Each accompanies one of the Pendleton twins. If we complete Slackjaw's non-lethal plan first, both women simply vanish. Presumably, Slackjaw's men take them when they abduct the Pendletons, meaning their fate would be left unknown. This isn't acceptable for the challenge. Instead, before meeting Slackjaw, we approach the Pendletons' rooms, freeze time before entering, sleep dart both of the brothers, and kill their civilian companions. As a bonus, Slackjaw's men now only have to carry away two unconscious aristocrats instead of dealing with any resistance.
It's only natural that you be curious about what I intend to do with the Pendletons. See, them Pendletons got these rock mines, have hundreds of souls working down there 1/2 mile deep below ground. So I'm gonna shave their heads and cut out their tongues and put them in one of their own stinking mines. Then they're gonna see life from a different angle.
With that unpleasant business concluded, we rescue Emily and return to Samuel. The final tally for the mission is 18 civilian kills, bringing the run total to 28. Unfortunately, that's enough to push us into high chaos. Still, the challenge isn't over. Some later missions contain very few civilians, and chaos is based on the overall kill ratio rather than any single level, so there might still be a path back to the good ending. Level 5, the Royal Physician. Our next objective is to abduct the Royal Physician, Anton Sokolov. Why? Because he's also a portrait painter. The journal we recovered from High Overseer Campbell mentions that Lady Boyle was involved in the Empress's assassination. And we don't know which one, but we do know that Sokolov painted her portrait. If anyone can tell us which Lady Boyle we're looking for, it's him. So, off we go. The opening stretch of the mission doesn't have much to speak of. Samuel drops us off and reminds us that we'll need to disable the bridge spotlights before he can pick us up later. Other than that, it's mostly a matter of sneaking past guards. After loading into the next section, we find a man arguing with a City Watch officer over the curfew. The guard gets knocked out, the civilian gets killed. We loot his apartment, hop across the rooftops into the neighboring house, and meet an oddity in Dishonored. One of those hostile civilians I mentioned earlier. He'll attack Corvo on sight, but the game still considers him a civilian, so he has to die. Continuing towards the bridge, we encounter two thugs who are moments away from getting themselves killed. Since they're hostiles, we heroically rescue them with sleep darts and stash their unconscious bodies in a nearby dumpster. There's also one of their friends locked in a prison cell. He'll happily betray you if released, so for his own safety, I decide to leave him be. After climbing the bridge and disabling the spotlights, we cross to the far side. Inside an abandoned building, we find a woman trapped by a massive swarm of rats, unable to escape. So I slit her throat and then just eat a bunch of rats. This version of Corvo is insane. In the next district, we knock out several guards and free two prisoners from their cells. Then we shoot both of them in the back as they run towards freedom. After looting the safe they told us about, we repay the favor by locking 3 guards in the now empty cell. Now we infiltrate Sokolov's estate. The house contains 2 maids, both civilians, so they become our next victims. Upstairs we find Sokolov hard at work in his laboratory, along with a woman imprisoned in a cage. We knock out Sokolov, we release the caged woman, and immediately shoot her in the face. We then kidnap the royal physician, carry him down to Samuel's boat, and make our escape. By the end of the mission, we've added 8 more civilian kills to the tally. That's fewer than the previous level, but still enough to leave us firmly in high chaos. Hopefully the next mission is a little less populated. Level 6, Lady Boyle's Last Party. God damn it, it's a party. And that means this mission has more civilians than any other level in the game. If anything is going to destroy this run, it's this mission. Before we even get there, there's one civilian standing between an imminent fight between the City Watch and a pack of Weepers. Best to deal with him before the violence starts. Outside the mansion, there are 3 party guests. All count as civilians. Conveniently, one of them drops an invitation, giving us a ticket inside if we didn't steal the art dealer's invitation, which we did. Speaking of that invitation, if you stole it, the art dealer himself will be standing outside the party because he can't get inside without it. This is true even if you murdered him during the House of Pleasure mission, showing us that Granny Rags isn't the only person in Dunwall who can come back from the dead. Also, if you present the art dealer's invitation, the guard greets you by the art dealer's name, Mr. Bunting, implying the invitations are personalized. But if you hand him the invitation the woman dropped outside, the guard doesn't comment that Corvo does not appear to be a woman. He does not question why a 6'4" masked man is using a woman's invitation. He does not address us using her name. I choose to believe this guard simply believes in trans rights, and doesn't use the name on the invitation because he assumes it to be our dead name. He just waves us through without asking any questions. Once inside, we immediately find 2 more party guests to eliminate. Earlier, Lord Pendleton asked us to challenge Lord Shaw to a duel on his behalf. Interestingly, Shaw is the only party guest classified as a hostile, despite the fact that we're the ones initiating the duel. While waiting for the duel, I eat an apricot tartlet. Then, because he's a hostile, I use a sleep dart instead of killing him. Curiously, his bodyguards react as if he died anyways. The real challenge is clearing out the mansion itself. For whatever reason, Shadow Kill doesn't function here. Well, to be honest, it barely functions throughout the game, but it's worse on this mission. Guests somehow notice bodies that have already disintegrated into ash, making stealth far more difficult than it should be. Eventually, I found 3 reliable strategies. First, every servant eventually wanders down into the kitchen, where they can be isolated, knocked unconscious, dragged into another room, and killed privately. Second, there's a maintenance room for the Wall of Light that occasionally proves useful for hiding bodies. But the real MVP is this bathroom. Almost every guest, servant, and member of the Boyle family eventually will walk past it alone. With enough patience, you can stand outside the toilet, pretending that you're waiting in line, and quietly work your way through almost the entire guest list, one person at a time. There is one person I found who will ever actually enter this restroom, Lady Boyle herself, who will check her reflection in the mirror. She somehow never notices all the killing that has been going on, or the unconscious guard I left in the bathroom. And if you go in there with her, she'll comment on how scandalous this is, but ultimately doesn't mind. And you do still have to kill them inside the bathroom, because people will somehow discover bodies that no longer exist otherwise. There are only a handful of exceptions. The gentleman dressed as a whale, the 2 men politely discussing prostituting one of their wives, the 3rd man standing nearby listening to them, and a few guests who linger near the entrance where all the food is. Then we come to Lady Boyle herself. As most players know, the non-lethal solution for this mission isn't good. Lord Brisby offers to take her away and keep her for himself, which is less of a merciful resolution and more of a human trafficking situation. Fortunately, it doesn't matter. Lady Boyle is classified as a civilian, making her the only primary assassination target in the game who must be killed under these rules. Lord Brisby, Lady Boyle's would-be abductor, is also a civilian, so he joins the casualty list as well. By the time the party is over, nearly everyone is dead. Aside from the guards, Lord Shaw ends up being one of the only party guests to survive simply because the game considers him a hostile. The final count for the mission is 29 civilian kills, bringing the grand total to 65. At this point, low chaos is starting to feel like a pipe dream, but this should be the last mission to have so many civilians. Level 7, Return to the Tower. Back at the Hound Pit's pub, Samuel boats us to the pub while we levitate. Makes it hard to hear what he's saying. We're told it's time to finally confront the Lord Regent, the man who did, well, all of this, the mastermind behind it all. Take him out and nothing stands between Emily and being crowned Empress. Anyone ever think about how crazy that is? The entire goal of Dishonored is to install a 10-year-old as absolute ruler of an empire. And I think probably the world? The Empire of the Isles is enormous, roughly a half the size of Europe. And Bristol, the island this all takes place on, alone contains more than half of the global population. So yes, the master plan is to hand absolute power over all humanity to a 4th grader. Royalty is bad. It's a bad idea. Don't do it. Stop it. Anyway, the Lord Regent himself is classified as hostile, so we can't kill him. Samuel drops us off in, I don't know, the ocean. It's just water around here. The whole world of Dishonored is an endless ocean outside of, like, 4 islands and 1 continent. We swim into Dunwall Tower, returning to the site of the tutorial mission where we killed the Empress. Good memories. We sneak inside until we arrive at the very place where the Empress died. A maid and a guard are chatting while admiring the view. The guard comments on the beauty of the scenery, while the maid comments how it's f***ed up he's trying to have a romantic moment right where the Empress died. I think they're dating. Either way, the maid is a civilian and the guard is a hostile. So only one of them survives the encounter. Nearby, we eliminate a maintenance engineer who appears to be the same guy we already killed back in the House of Pleasure mission. I don't think either ever got a name, so maybe they're twins? Maybe lookalikes? Maybe death is more of a suggestion in Dunwall, as we've seen with Mr. Bunting and Granny Rags. With the exterior cleared, we head inside the tower. Early on, we encounter the propaganda officer who is the key to the non-lethal route of this mission. And by the key, I mean entirely unnecessary. So we kill him. Instead, we simply loot the Lord Regent's safe ourselves, where he has conveniently recorded detailed audio confessions of his crimes for absolutely no reason. How convenient. Descending into the kitchens, we find a maid on the stairs and another maid speaking with some man about bringing dinner to the torturer. All three are civilians. All three die. The torturer himself is hostile, so we leave him alive after knocking him unconscious. Back upstairs, we find another maid in the servants' quarters, and finally, one last maid upstairs standing silently in the middle of a bedroom, staring directly at the doorway. I believe she's there as a trap for unsuspecting players. Walk in unprepared and she'll spot you instantly. Afterwards, we broadcast the Lord Regent's confession across Dunwall. It's crazy just how catastrophic his conspiracy really was. The rat plague nearly brought the largest empire on the planet, the only empire, to its knees. It appears that he may have come closer to causing the complete annihilation of the species than the Black Plague did IRL. His rooftop safe room contains no civilians, and since we're pursuing the non-lethal route, we have no reason to visit it. Samuel picks us up once more, bringing the mission total to 8 civilian kills. Finally, we're back in single digits. We're still in high chaos, but every mission increases the total population used for the game's calculations. So there's still hope that our ratio might eventually drift back into low chaos. Back at the Hound Pit's pub, people are celebrating. The Lord Regent has fallen, Emily will be crowned Empress, people are drinking, people are smoking, people are poisoning Corvo. Be sure to stop at Piero's before passing out, as it will be helpful in the following mission. Oh my goodness, we've been betrayed. Who saw that coming? Level 8, the Flooded District. We wake up drifting through the Flooded District on what I can only assume is Samuel's spare boat. Despite having helped poison Corvo, Samuel apparently couldn't bring himself to go through with it completely, so he only gave us half a lethal dose. There's actually a detail here that's been bothering me. Lord Pendleton is the one who hands Corvo the poisoned drink, but later we learn it was Samuel who poisoned it. Now, Dunwall Tower and the Hound Pit's pub might look close together as they're across from each other in the Wrenhaven River, but Caldwin's Bridge is about 1.9 miles, or roughly 3 kilometers long. Judging by the map, the distance between the tower and the pub is almost twice that distance. Assuming one of these river motorboats reaches speeds around 10 to 15 miles per hour, Samuel would have had to poison the drink between 30 and 45 minutes before Corvo actually drank it. Except, no, actually. Samuel waited outside Dunwall Tower for us, meaning the drink had to have been poisoned before that mission ever began. And Samuel tells us he had to be careful when giving us half the dose because the others were watching him. Those who betrayed us were Admiral Havelock, Overseer Martin, and Lord Pendleton. Before we started the Return to the Tower mission, Martin and Havelock were upstairs talking with us, Corvo, while Pendleton was downstairs in the wine cellar. Nobody ever had the opportunity to quietly meet with Samuel and poison the drink. The last point where all four of them could realistically have met and poisoned the glass was between the royal physician and Lady Boyle's last party, which was also the last time Corvo went to sleep, which means Lord Pendleton would have had to spend an entire day wandering around the Hound Pit's pub with this poisoned glass, making sure nobody accidentally drank it. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but after playing this game a dozen or so times, these are the things that started getting to me. Anyway, Dowd's assassins fish us out of the river. Dowd himself, the man who killed the Empress, explains that he knows we've been marked by the Outsider, which makes us an unpredictable variable. Naturally, his solution is to sentence us to death by putting us inside a small room with several obvious escape routes. For a long time, there aren't any civilians in this mission. We recover our equipment, and if you branded High Overseer Campbell instead of killing him, you can actually find him wandering nearby as a Weeper. Then it's time to infiltrate Dowd's base. Dowd is classified as hostile, so he has to survive. We knock him unconscious, steal all his stuff, including his keys, and leave. While escaping through the tunnels beneath his hideout, we're detected. By who? Nobody. It's a high chaos bug. The only workaround is to freeze time, possess a nearby rat before time resumes, and scamper away. Eventually, we encounter our first civilian of the mission, a dying man and another man trying to comfort him. If you're quick enough, you can kill both of them. Immediately after that, climbing the nearby stairs leads to two more civilians. Across the massive pile of corpses sits another woman by herself high up in a ruined building. Now, if we were in low chaos when we started this mission, we'd find a group of 7 survivors hiding here. I believe rescuing them lowers chaos, despite the fact that you're also helping them leave quarantine and potentially spread the plague. Either way, that's not our problem. We're in high chaos, so they're all either dead or Weepers. Past the walls of light and into the sewers, a thug points us the way towards the key needed to continue. This leads into Granny Rag's final quest. If you'd ignore Granny for the entire game, you can skip this section altogether. But she counts as a civilian, so we murder her every chance we get. We're committed. The only way to permanently kill Granny Rags is to steal the cameo hidden beneath her pillow, burn it in the furnace, and then kill her one last final time. Oddly enough, burning the cameo counts as a civilian kill too. Combined with the 2 previous times we've already killed her and this one last final kill after burning her cameo, Granny Rags is responsible for 4 of our civilian kills during this challenge. We rescue Slackjaw because he's a hostile, and now that we have the key, continue through the sewer tunnels. Here we'll find another difference between low and high chaos. In low chaos, this sewer contains a sanctuary with 5 civilians trying to survive down here in the sewers. In high chaos, they're all Weepers. By the time we finally escape the flooded district, we've added 7 civilian kills to the total. Under low chaos, there would have been another 12 potential civilian kills available in this mission, but the rat plague beat us to them. Level 9, the Loyalists. We step out from the sewers and arrive at Cecilia's safe house, one of our fellow Loyalists. While researching this run, I came across claims that Cecilia is one of only 2 civilian NPCs whose deaths don't affect your chaos level. My own experiments don't agree with that, but I don't know, I probably did something wrong. Either way, we kill her. Back at the Hound Pit's pub, the place has been completely overrun by hostiles. We make a quick run through the building, grabbing a letter from Admiral Havelock, now the Lord Regent Havelock. Congrats on your promotion. The letter explains his plans and reveals where Emily is being kept. How kind of him to let us know. We also pick up some blueprints for Piero and Sokolov, because they're both still alive. Spoilers, I guess? Finally, we return to Corvo's old room and find one last drawing from Emily. Throughout the game, Emily's artwork changes depending on your chaos level. In low chaos, she draws happy scenes and cats. In high chaos, she draws herself violently murdering people. This here final drawing reflects that as well. Low chaos, she'll draw Corvo himself. In high chaos, she draws Corvo's mask. I guess this reflects how she sees you, either as a person or as a tool, a weapon to be used. That was my takeaway, at least. Getting the mask drawing at this point in the game is generally considered confirmation that you're getting the high chaos ending. In other words, we failed. Or have we? I mean, yes, we did fail, but trust me, we'll come back to that. We find Piero and Sokolov hiding beneath the tables in Piero's lab. They're discussing natural philosophy while the lab is under bombardment. We hand over the blueprint. They finish their device, and in one spectacular burst, they knock out an entire city block. What comes next was genuinely really difficult. I've joked about a lot of these kills throughout the run, and I've been very flippant about them.
Pachirama-sama, how can you be so flippant and so desirable?
But that's mostly because by this point I've played through this challenge around 20 times trying to get it perfect. And you are not watching my first run here. I unfortunately lost that footage. Killing the mother trying to save medicine for her baby, the retired old man, the guard's little sister, the engaged couple. Those all bothered me in the moment, even though I know they aren't real. This isn't a reboot situation. But this was one of the hardest. Piero is just a good guy. He's awkward, he's kind of a pervert, and he's probably autistic.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, of course not.
I mean, it's fine if that's who you are.
Absolutely.
But he's one of the few people who's loyal to Corvo from beginning to end. The first time I killed him, I actually had to stop and take a break. I just paused the game and gave myself a moment to sit with what I've done. Again, I lost the footage from that original attempt, unfortunately. But it genuinely got to me. So, we freeze time and kill both Piero and Sokolov. Emily's room is locked and has the... Don't go, you're making too much noise. Get off the keyboard. Emily's room is locked and has the device we need to contact Samuel. So we need the key. Callista, Emily's teacher, has it. If you're in low chaos, she's alive and hiding in Emily's room. In high chaos, she's already dead. So we have to find her mummified corpse and loot the key. Just another consequence of reaching high chaos. I believe that brings our total number of missed civilian kills to 13. With nothing left to do, we signal Samuel for one last boat ride. We finish this level with 3 civilian kills. The final mission awaits. Level 10, the light at the end. A nasty storm has rolled in. That only happens if you're in high chaos. Samuel tells us he's disappointed in what we've become, that we've gone out of our way to be cruel. And I mean, he's not wrong. And now we have arrived at the end of our run. Samuel is the final civilian. Killing him brings our total to 84 civilian kills, with 13 civilians missed due to them dying from either plague or being murdered. To truly complete this run, I need to find a way to kill all 97 civilians while still earning the low chaos ending. For a while, I thought I'd failed. I spent days trying different routes. At one point, I even tried a different run where I finished almost every mission in high chaos, as high as I could get it, where I'd still jump back down into low chaos at the start of the next mission, because each mission increases the total amount of chaos you can work with. That run was fascinating. The game clearly wasn't expecting someone to bounce back and forth between chaos states so aggressively. Emily would speak her low chaos dialogue while drawing her high chaos artwork. There were a bunch of little things like that. But the biggest of all was when I reached the end of the Loyalist mission, and the game simply refused to continue. I collected the letters, the blueprints, Emily's bedroom key. I signaled Samuel, and every time I tried talking to him, Corvo would instantly get kicked out of the conversation. I was convinced I found some bizarre chaos-related soft lock. Unfortunately, after reloading the mission, I got it to work. I don't actually know what caused it. Maybe it was chaos-related and the game couldn't figure out what map to load. Maybe it was something else. I don't know. At that point, I was honestly disappointed. I'd spent all this time on this and was left with nothing, so I gave up. I sat on the couch and watched YouTube videos. I watched Ordinary Sausage. It's a man who makes food, including but not limited to sausages. L.A. Beast, a man who eats food, including but also not limited to sausages. Eventually, my co-host, Axothodl, started complaining that our entire homepage had become nothing but sausage videos. The algorithm had looked at my viewing habits and decided this guy wants sausage. So to appease Axothodl, I started looking for completely different channels. I found Bappy Chatters. He's a guy who makes art and talks about life. It's a great channel. He has a Champilianther. Then I stumbled across Zenith, and that's where everything changed. He has a video titled, "Can You Beat the Simpsons? Hit and Run with the Secret Cars." For months, he'd been trying to destroy Buzz Cola trucks as Marge using an ATV. The ATV doesn't deal enough damage, so he gave up too. Until he realized from yet another YouTuber that he didn't need the ATV to destroy the trucks. He only needed the trucks to be destroyed. What do I mean? Environmental hazards, that's what. The environment would do the killing. That was my eureka moment. I'd been approaching this challenge completely wrong. I didn't need Corvo to kill every civilian. I only needed every civilian to die. While I was genuinely curious whether staying below 20% of the game's total population would produce the low chaos ending, it turns out that's just a myth. By my count, Dishonored contains a maximum of 596 possible human kills. Even if every one of the 97 civilians die, that's only about 16% of the game's total human population. Even ignoring the final mission, which doesn't affect your ending at all, you're still left with 522 possible kills, meaning all 97 civilians only account for 18.5%, which is still below 20%. So the 20% myth is just that, a myth. Instead, Chaos appears to work on a point system, thanks in part to the video, "Can You Get High Chaos Without Killing Anyone in Dishonored?" I learned that most chaos-raising actions are worth 6 points. Things like helping Granny Rag spread the plague, killing 4 members of the same hostile faction, thugs, guards, weepers, etc. Every 5 bodies discovered, killing a single civilian, meaning 4 hostiles are worth 1 civilian. Meanwhile, several actions reduce chaos, again most by 6 points, such as rescuing certain civilians during scripted events. But the big thing is sparing the assassination targets, as that lowers chaos by 20 points. Which means sex trafficking Lady Boyle gives you enough positive karma to kill 3 of her servants or 12 homeless people. And you get to walk away in the positive. Video game morality systems are weird. Flawed little beans. So I went back to experimenting. Throwing unconscious people into fire counts as a kill. Drowning them, your kill. Possessing someone and walking them off a ledge, still your kill. I asked Reddit, and I was pointed towards some interesting exceptions. If unconscious people are eaten by a mischief of rats, the game doesn't credit you with the kill, even if you directly put them in the pile of rats. And NPCs killed by other NPCs don't count against you either. Unfortunately, there simply aren't enough rats or enough enemy factions who will fight each other on enough maps to make our run possible. Especially because the 2 levels with the largest civilian populations have neither. Then, I found it. I found what we need while screwing around in the Lady Boyle's last party mission. If you possess a civilian, walk them directly in front of a wall of light, and then release possession. They stumble forward, straight into the wall of light. They're the ones choosing to take that final step, not me. And the wall of light isn't my weapon, it's the City Watch's. I searched online and I couldn't find any evidence that others have found this out. So I might actually be the person who discovered this. Maybe someone else found it years ago and I just couldn't find that information. I honestly don't know. But either way, I finally found the key. So let's start over, one last time. Our goal is simple. 97 civilian deaths, low chaos, no exceptions. Okay, time to start over. We already know the first 2 missions, Returning Home and Dishonored, don't really matter. There simply aren't any civilians we can kill in either level. So nothing changes. So the challenge begins with High Overseer Campbell. This mission should account for 10 civilian deaths. More importantly, it's also the first mission we're introduced to the Wall of Lights. As it turns out, 5 civilians can be walked directly into the very first one we see. Unfortunately, I do need Possession rank 2 first. Fortunately, there are enough runes in the mission to unlock it. The downside is that I had to go through all of this level's maps collecting every rune and boon charm before actually doing anything. Then backtrack all the way to the beginning and actually play the mission. It was worth it though. The first 3 civilians near the bridge all happily wander into the Wall of Light. So does Griff, and to my surprise, Granny Rags. I honestly wasn't expecting that to work. Granny Rags has void powers just like Corvo and Dowd, and Dowd can't be possessed. Even stranger, after she dies, all of her rats become hostile. That's interesting because Granny Rags' rats only attack whoever killed her. So the rats know I killed her, but the game doesn't know. The rats have information the game's chaos system doesn't know. This can only mean one thing. They're learning. It's only a matter of time before they break containment. Nobody's realized this until now, but the rats in Dishonored are an SCP. After 14 years, they've become self-aware. They know Corvo is the player character. What will happen in another 14 years? Dishonored rats on the moon? What do we do? What can we do? For now, don't let them know that we know. Everybody act natural. Anyways, the maid inside Dr. Galvani's office can simply be fed to Dr. Galvani's rats. The game doesn't count them as our kill. That brings us to 6 civilian deaths. And not a single one has counted against us. Unfortunately, I never found a workaround for the 3 civilians touring Holger Square. I tried everything I could think of, but in the end, they had to be killed normally. The final civilian, Elsa, this guard's sister, we rescue her from the overzealous overseers, and then feed her to these rats. That leaves us with all 10 civilians dead. But only 3 of those deaths are credited to Corvo. We even managed to save Captain Kurnow and brand Campbell as a heretic. Mission 4, House of Pleasure. This mission had 18 civilian deaths in our original run, so that's the goal. Unfortunately, the wall of light from the previous mission is gone. But this time we have something even better. Slackjaw. Helping Slackjaw earns us the key to the Captain's Chair Hotel, which just so happens to have a rather severe rat infestation. It's perfect. So we get Slackjaw the information he wants, and in return we get access to the rats we need. That thug-looking civilian near the beginning of the level, fed to the rats. The woman trying to get medicine for her baby, we heroically rescue her, and then feed her to the rats. Mr. Bunting, the art dealer, we rob his safe so he'll appear outside Lady Boyle's party next mission, giving us the opportunity to kill him a second time. We're planning ahead. As for the goat and cat itself, I couldn't find anything. No wall of light, no rats. The guards aren't going to murder the guests or the workers for me. I even experimented with the hagfish in the river, hoping they'd function like the rats do. No luck. The unconscious bodies would simply drown before the hagfish ever became interested. So unfortunately, it's back to good old-fashioned murder. Leaving through the VIP exit, we encounter Granny Rags once again. So I possess her and walk her all the way up to the rat infestation inside the Captain's Chair Hotel. I kinda wanted to see what would happen. Would Granny Rags' rats fight the regular rats? Would they unite against me? We'll never know for sure. A nearby guard spotted Granny first and shot her in the head. And then he was torn apart by her rats. This is fine. By the end of the mission, we've recorded 19 civilian deaths, with only 16 of them counting as Corvo's kills. Wait a gosh darn moment! 19? Wasn't this mission only supposed to have 18 civilians? Did I miss someone during the original run? It took me a while to figure it out, but as it turns out, the Pendleton twins' rooms are randomized every playthrough. If neither brother takes the downstairs steam room, a random City Watch guard uses it instead. And I guess he brings his own civilian companion? I think she's his wife. So I guess they just like to roleplay him hiring her, and they will only use the steam room? The steam room probably has some sentimental value to them. Might be where they first met. So if one of the Pendleton twins books it first, they just go back home? Unfortunate for them, because this time she has to die too. So remember when I said the goal was 97 civilian deaths? No exceptions? Okay, one exception. 98. 98 civilian deaths. Level 5. The Royal Physician. This mission has 8 civilians. Just gonna skip through the first part of the mission and jump into where we have civilians to talk about. The aristocrat arguing with the guard, and his neighbor, the mad survivor. Unfortunately, have to die by our own hands. I never found a workaround for them. Next, we come across the woman trapped inside this here abandoned building. She's in the basement, surrounded by rats. I probably could have possessed her and walked her straight into the rats. But instead, I decided to actually rescue her. Why? Because rescuing her lowers your chaos. 6 free points of positive karma. Then, once she was safely out, I walked her into the nearby wall of light. Good deed accomplished. Moving on, we find the two prisoners locked behind the wall of light. We free them. Let them begin running for freedom. Then possess each of them, turn them around, and walk them directly into the wall of light they just escaped. As for Sokolov's house, the two maids gave me a bit of trouble. Unlike ordinary civilians, they can walk through the wall of light unharmed. There's actually a lore reason for this. People who regularly work around walls of light, or arc pylons, are attuned to them using a device called a charger. The wall recognizes them as authorized personnel while vaporizing anyone else. I won't pretend I understand why. I don't think it's real science. At first I thought that meant I'd have to kill them normally, but then I remembered. There's a giant pile of rats just outside. Hey, I forgot to mention this while writing the script, but I found a spot here to come back and explain that I think we can all agree that those we feed to the rats are dead enough once they no longer have skin. So I don't count the kills until they're skinless. Problem solved. Both maids became rat food. Finally, we free the woman imprisoned inside Sokolov's laboratory. 8 civilian deaths, only 2 kills credited to Corvo. And somewhat surprisingly, the game still rewarded me for rescuing the stranded woman from the rats, despite what happened immediately afterwards. Level 6, Lady Boyle's Last Party. This mission contains 29 civilians. The mission with the highest civilian population in the entire game. Outside the Boyle mansion, we have 7 civilians, 1 guy working with the city watch, and 6 aristocrats. Luckily, we also have a massive mischief of rats. One problem, though, there is several nearby guards, and the rats and city watch can end up fighting each other. So before we start, we take out the guards non-lethally. All of them except the tall boys. The tall boys don't seem interested in fighting the rats, and I never found a way to take them out without killing them. With the area secured, we can finally begin. 7 civilians, straight into the rats. Lord Shaw, however, survives. Again, he's classified as hostile, and we're still only targeting civilians. Inside the mansion, things get much easier. The mission with the most civilians also happens to have one of the most useful tools for this challenge, a wall of light. Almost every civilian inside the party is not attuned to it, and even better, there's another mischief of rats in the basement, though this one isn't nearly as impressive as the first. After eating 2 civilians, they'll scamper off. Still, every little bit helps. 2 maids become rat food. The other 2 maids have to be dealt with by hands. Now we move on to the guests and the hosts. The first Lady Boyle is taken care of inside the room containing the wall of light controls. Then we use the wall of light to eliminate 4 guests, including the man who wanted to abduct Lady Boyle. The second Lady Boyle meets the same fate in the same room. Then we continue using the wall of light to remove 2 more guests. The third and final Lady Boyle is next with another trip to the same room. 4 more party guests later, and the wall of light runs out of power. So we replace the battery, and continue. The final 5 guests are dealt with, and we escape the party to meet Samuel. In total, 29 civilians dead, only 5 civilian kills are credited to Corvo. That should be amazing. Except, we're in high chaos again. I know I said this last time, but every mission increases the chaos threshold needed to remain in low chaos. So this doesn't mean we failed. We're still on the right track. We'll still keep going. We got this. Level 7, return to the tower. This mission contains 8 civilians. Outside Dunwall Tower, we have 1 maid, 1 maintenance engineer, and more importantly, a bunch of rats. Problem solved. The inside of the tower isn't as cooperative. There are no rat infestations, Everyone who works in the tower is attuned to the wall of lights, and despite my best efforts, the guards refuse to start murdering the household staff for me. So there's no clever solution this time. The remaining 4 maids, this guy in the kitchen, and the propaganda officer all have to die by our own hands. That leaves us with 8 civilians dead. But only 6 of those deaths were credited to us. And then, something incredible happened. Low chaos. We are finally back in low chaos. Level 8, the Flooded District. This mission contains 19 civilians. That includes the 7 civilians we killed originally, plus the 12 survivors who were already dead, or rather, were already weepers in the high chaos version of this level. And we don't encounter any civilians for quite a while, not until we're halfway through the mission. So let's jump ahead. After dealing with Daud, we find our first 2 survivors. Just like I showed earlier, we could kill both of them ourselves pretty easily. But that's not the challenge. We don't need to kill them, we just need them to die. So instead, I wait. I watch this man slowly succumb to the plague. It's a little uncomfortable, so I pass the time with jumping.
When I get out of there and get better, I'm going to do right this time. A fresh start. This time.
Now we possess the other survivor and walk him out into the open, directly into the line of sight of the City Watch. These guards will shoot anything that moves. It's perfect. We repeat the same strategy with the 2 survivors inside the nearby building. Possess them, walk them outside, let the guards handle the rest. Next up is the woman in this building 3 stories above us. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any indirect ways to kill her. The main problems are that there are no rats anywhere nearby, and the only way to remove her from her room is by knocking her unconscious. But if a guard sees an unconscious civilian, they don't kill them, they just report a body. So sadly, she has to be killed directly. Next, we find the group of 7 survivors attempting to escape the quarantine zone. This is where we help them. They need us to disable the arc pylons blocking their escape. We shut down the arc pylons, and the survivors finally leave their hiding spot. And they gather around the disabled arc pylon. So I turn the arc pylon back on. Moving on. Now we have to deal with Granny Rags. Again. Destroying her cameo counts as 1 civilian kill. Killing her afterwards counts as another. Granny Rags alone has now contributed 4 deaths to this challenge. We rescue Slackjaw and continue into the final section of the sewers. In High Chaos, this would contain a group of Weepers. But because we've made it back down in Low Chaos, they are survivors instead. 5 of them, to be exact. Unfortunately, there are no rats, no wall of light, no arc pylons, no enemy factions nearby. So what do? River crusts. These creatures are the only reason this group of survivors has remained safe. They provide a natural defense against outsiders, as anyone who comes close gets shut down by these animals. We possess the survivors and walk them out into the open. We take out the first 3 while the last 2 talk about how their son is safe. He escaped to Morlaix, and they're planning to leave tomorrow to find and reunite their family. A happy ending. Only Corvo weren't here. At least they can die knowing their son is safe. Morlaix is outside our reach. By the end of the Flooded District, 19 civilians are dead, and we're left with only 3 credited kills. The woman in the building, Granny Rags, and Granny Rags again. Level 9, the Loyalists. This mission contains 4 civilians. First, Cecilia dies. Next, we find Piero and Sokolov hiding under the tables once again. We give them the blueprints, they repair the device, and just like before, the entire city block is knocked unconscious. With all the hostiles out of the way, we now have a few civilians to deal with, Piero and Sokolov. They both die, but this time, Callista is still alive. She's overjoyed to find out we survived and immediately begs us to rescue Emily, so we kill her. Finally, we signal Samuel and prepare for the final mission, ending the Loyalist mission with 4 civilian deaths. And all 4 are credited to Corvo. But it doesn't matter anymore, because look at that, low chaos. We did it, after everything, after killing nearly every civilian in Dunwall, after finding every possible loophole, we reached the final mission in low chaos. Why are we celebrating now? Because the final mission doesn't matter. We're locked in on the low chaos ending. You can kill every guard, every civilian, and anything else you can get your hands on during the light at the end, and it won't change the ending. We succeeded. The challenge is complete. But hey, let's finish this properly. One last civilian. Samuel.
This is it, sir. I suspect Havelock Martin and Lord Pendleton landed there a while ago and went into the lighthouse. Knowing them, they're not giving up without a fight. I remember hearing the Admiral and Martin talking about this place as where they'd hold up if they had to. Anybody going in has to breach the fort, the gatehouse, and there's only one way to the top. All I can say is that it's been a pleasure serving with you. Maybe after all this is settled, we'll see each other again. Good luck, Corvo. If anyone deserves it, you do. Give my best to Emily. After she's on the throne, she won't have time for an old man like me. I knew you were sharp, Corvo. But somehow you managed to get through all this mess without losing sight of what really matters. For that, I respect you. The city's gonna pull itself up, I believe. Too many good people here to let it all turn to ashes. I'd best be going. The battlefield's no place for an old sailor like me. That time is long past. Good luck, my friend.
That one hurt. After everything. After all the kind things Samuel says, after he calls Corvo his friend, that he's proud of us, we just put a bolt in his head. I hated that. I actually had to leave the room for a minute after doing it. Anyway, let's finish this. Unlike the high chaos version of this mission, Martin and Pendleton aren't fighting each other when we arrive. So we head straight for Havelock, and somehow Havelock managed to kill both of them himself. Poisoned their drinks. You would think after poisoning me with a drink, these people would be a little more careful about accepting beverages. I make sure they're both dead, and then it's time for the final confrontation. Lord Regent Havelock. I possess him, and attempt to open Emily's door just to see if anything unusual happens. Nothing. The game simply refuses to let me do it. So instead we sleep dart him, Emily is saved, the Empire is restored, and the challenge is complete. One civilian killed was credited to us, Corvo. I am so sorry, Samuel. That brings our final numbers to 98 civilian deaths. Only 40 of those were directly credited to Corvo, and we received the low chaos ending. Every civilian in Dishonored dead. We did it. Before we finish, there are a few things I want to address. First, Lord Pendleton. As far as I can tell, Pendleton is neither classified as civilian nor hostile. You can eliminate him, and you can neutralize him, but he never appears in your statistics. My guess is that the game simply wasn't designed for the player to kill him. In low chaos, Havelock poisons him before Corvo arrives. In high chaos, Martin will shoot him if you don't make it to Pendleton in time. You can prevent Martin from killing him if you're fast enough and use Time Bend, otherwise Pendleton ends up bleeding out. I don't think the game was prepared for you to get the high chaos ending, then save Pendleton, and then kill him yourself. So he gets left in this strange statistics limbo. Martin and Havelock, however, are both classified as hostiles. There is also a dead maid who appears during the high chaos version of the final mission. However, she simply doesn't exist in the low chaos version, so there's no way to kill her. Finally, Lydia Brooklane and Wallace Higgins, two of the Loyalists, both are civilians. Both die off-screen regardless of your actions. They can't be saved. They can't be killed by Corvo. So I didn't include them in the challenge total. If you want to count them though, you can call it 100 civilian kills. It's a nice round number. Screw it. 100 civilians dead. I like that. So after this multi-month challenge, what did I learn? What are our takeaways? Number 1. I watch way too many sausage videos. Number 2. Killing your friends feels horrible. 0 out of 10 experience. Would not recommend. And number 3. I really like that YouTube channel, Bappy Chatters. 10 out of 10. I would recommend watching this guy's content over killing all your friends all day, every day. Go check it out. I'll leave a link. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe.